everyone. Welcome into the Disc Golf Preview Show. I'm your host, Hunter, joined by Trevor, and we're jumping into the Ledgestone Insurance Open.
I'm glad you
weekend.
added the insurance in there. Some people just call it Ledgestone. No, it's the Ledgestone Insurance Open.
Is it anymore?
No, it is.
Okay. You made me self-conscious.
No, I'm pretty sure it is. And that's why, because I thought about it earlier. I was like, people just keep calling it Ledgestone. It's like, no, it's Ledgestone Insurance Open.
I don't know if Nate does insurance anymore.
Well, the company still exists. I'm here to tell you. I mean,
it was always a Ledgestone Insurance Open, and by golly, we're standing by it.
We're standing by it.
You can get a bogey on hole 6 and get your car insured on hole 7.
There you go.
Is it Ledgestone Insurance?
Wait a second. Wait a second. Please hold.
This is the old disc golf in me coming out, bringing the insurance. People are going to be like, insurance?
What? Well, because I'm pretty sure I drew this conclusion by looking at the upcoming events. So on UDisc it says that, but I need to see the logo, I feel like, for me to like really confirm it, right? Because like that's where you would, if you look on like the DGN, it would give me the logo, and that's like where I would know. This is a big deal, because would this be the first year?
Well, don't they do like isn't their store like LIS? Like Ledgestone Insurance Shop?
I'm not sure.
Maybe they took insurance out like years ago.
I don't know.
And we're
Keep talking. I'll update you.
Okay. Well, anyways, we're going out to the MPO is going to be playing Lake Eureka Temp and Northwoods Black, while as FPO will be playing a shortened version of Northwoods Black, still called Northwoods Black.
Dang, dude, no more insurance. That's
no more
tough.
Insurance. Just
what
Ledgestone
a tough
Open.
way to open that.
Wow. I
wrote Ledgestone without it in my notes.
You did. We should have used Trevor's notes.
Sabotage.
Whatever. Bring back insurance.
Yeah, dude.
You know? Bring it back.
Don't take the insurance out of this sport.
There's no noticeable changes other than the name, apparently, to the courses this year. Northwoods is playing exactly how it played last year. So is Lake Eureka, and so is Sunset. I went caddy book to caddy book, so unless there's just some small, minor basket moves changes, nothing notable, nothing that we'll see on coverage. As far as weather goes, there is a decent chance of rain and thunderstorms this weekend, which could definitely be a factor out there. If you remember, 2 years ago, we had the two winner, the Ricky and Calvin winner, the two-headed snake, if you will, because the weather canceled it. So it definitely could be a factor out there.
Hopefully weird weather. Not. And I saw somebody, I think it was Gannon or somebody, posted on their story like some awful weather the other day. I don't know what it is about. It's in Illinois.
It's the Midwest.
Right? Yeah, I guess so. It's just some crazy weather.
I mean, the only tornado I've ever seen was at Ledgestone.
Well, that's what I thought when I saw that story post. I was like, man, like Hunter was there and he had that bad weather. I'm just always hearing about the bad weather.
Yeah, it's just the Midwest, man.
Crazy.
Few storylines as we head into this week. First off, I had to double and triple check myself on this because
oh boy,
I didn't think it was right, but it is. Ricky Wysocki has now won this event 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Coming into this
2.5.
2.5, because one of the 3 was the year him and Calvin
win.
shared win. But 3 years in a row that he has held this title. And he's had an up and down year so far this year. But with there being no course changes, I mean, surely Rick's the favorite, right?
Has to be. Yeah, I think I remember, like, even last year, whenever he won, I remember them saying, like, he was the 3-time or whatever. And I was like, really? Like, I feel like Rick, in certain years now, like over the last probably 5 years, he just the way he forms his season is around certain events that he dominates. Because isn't it Texas State's is the other one?
Texas State's he's dominated.
That he just like I won like a billion times. There's just certain events that Rick is, and you don't view Rick as that player because he can win anywhere in our minds, right? Like he's a very balanced player. So it's not like we're picking out courses, but for whatever reason, certain events, Ricky is just so good at them. So yeah, I mean, it's hard not to at least consider him as one of the favorites.
I think the reason this one kind of gets thrown off is 2019, which is obviously that would have been year 1 of his 3-year reign so far.
There was a break, I guess.
There's 19. No, it wouldn't have been. He didn't win 2019, but 2019, Paul won Worlds out there. And
that's right.
Worlds, and Paul might have won Ledgestone, but Ricky, even then at Worlds, if you remember, he had that throw-in chance on 18. To push a playoff, and it got mighty close. Like, Ricky had got himself back in it, because that was the year Paul and Emerson Keith were kind of battling it out, and Ricky wasn't a big storyline, and then by the end, Ricky was a storyline, and then 2020, 2021, 2022, Ricky won or co-won with Calvin in 2021 this event. And what's fascinating is when you look at the players that were close to him, like in 2020, in 2021, and in 2022, the players that finished close to him the next years, the years around it, didn't. They did not do good. For instance, Corey Ellis, who was a top 5 player last year at Ledgestone, was in like 53rd the year before. Calvin Heimberg co-won in 2021. Calvin lost by 13 to Rick last year.
Yeah.
I do think that's another thing here is, 2 years ago we did see Ricky and Calvin tie for the win, as we just said, and I just said he lost by 13 here. And we've been seeing kind of a tale of two Calvins even this season. Mm-hmm. The question out here, I think, is which Calvin do you think we're going to see this weekend? Is it the Calvin that tied for the win or the Calvin that lost by 13?
Yeah, I think that these courses are separators, and we don't have not a lot of events. If any, not only like a lot of events, you'll see like one course be the separator, and you could still look at Northwoods obviously and be like, well, that's the separator here. But Eureka Temp still has teeth. There's plenty of out of bounds over there, so there are separating chances on both courses. So I think having a 1-2 punch, and especially this is going to be a 4-round event. Mm-hmm. That's certainly going to provide a lot of opportunity. And what that means is that you would expect better players to rise to the top. But I think Northwoods having the blow up potential that it has, you can just get like 2 rounds at Northwoods can just provide a lot of separation. Like you can very quickly between 2 rounds, even if you're Calvin and you're playing okay, you can lose 10 shots over 2 rounds at that course to good players. So I think that that's where it makes this event is very difficult to predict in that way. I would expect, I like Calvin in the woods. I like him, I like his accuracy. So I'm still expecting him to play well. I don't really have a ton of confidence in him right now as a player, and I think that's just slowly decreased as the season has gone on. Once again, I still expect him to be like top 10 finish type player, but I don't know. I'm not going into events the way I was early in the season. Like, yeah, Calvin's the guy. Like, it's like, yeah, he'll probably play well, and it's not going to shock me if he wins, obviously, but I've lost that invincible confidence that I had in him at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I like Calvin more at Eureka Temp than I do at Northwoods. And the one thing I was kind of struggling thinking through with predictions and everything is it sounds like you're leaning as Northwoods is kind of the deciding course.
I don't and what's funny is every year I go into this event thinking it will be, and I don't know that it normally does necessarily. Obviously, they finish at Eureka, right? Mm-hmm. So, that it always in disc golf, we don't have a lot of, runaways. So it's always going to feel like Eureka decides it. But it's almost like Northwoods is less of like the decider and more of like there are certain players that just cannot get out of that course alive. And I think there's a limited part of the field that can. And I think what Northwoods actually is more than anything is it provides opportunity to certain really strong woods players, players like Chris Dickerson, to potentially gain an advantage over others. So I think that's what Northwoods does more than anything is I don't know that it's like going to you necessarily tear down a ton of the field, but I think that there's only certain players that can really throw well enough to get out of that course. And I think it certainly does. It means that if you're off a little bit on the weekend, you're just not going to do well out there. I mean, you're just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's what like last year. I want to say Rick average. I think he shot 26. I believe was his winning score last year. So that's what across 4 rounds, like 6.5 stroke average.
Around about
6.5 under. And for Pro Tours, that's extremely like low, I guess you could say, scoring. Not low, high score. You get what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's not very far under par for a Pro Tour event. But it seems like what separates Rick over these past 3 years is he plays both courses about the same.
Yeah.
Like if you looked last year, I think his hot round, I believe, was a 7 under. I think he had 2 7s and 2 6s. He might have had an 8 and a 5, but he was in that range. It wasn't like at Worlds, I remember, like the hottest round I remember at Northwoods Black, I think was like a 9 or a 10 under.
Yeah, getting to double digits there is insane.
It's not like Rick had a 10 under and like a 2 under. He's just consistent in both courses, and that's kind of what I think separates him. But I think that both courses are deciders, almost equally deciders. I think it's just like you were saying for different styles of players. Because I think that the decider for Calvin, I think Calvin's going to play Eureka Temp well. The decider for Calvin is Northwoods Black. Whereas for Chris Dickerson, the decider is Eureka Temp.
Sure, yeah.
And I think Ricky, the reason and Paul's had success here too, I think for a very similar reason, is I think both of them, their game can just morph into any course.
Right.
That's why we saw the dominance of them in the 15, 16, 17 era, 18 era, because I think they were like the only players that really could morph into every course, and that allowed them to even have off weekends and still win. I think Eureka and Northwoods, that 1-2 punch, kind of brings that essence back out where truly the best disc golfer who can play in the Open and the Woods has a really good chance of succeeding out there. But yeah, for some reason, every year I go into this event thinking this event is basically the Northwoods Black Championship. Yeah. Like Eureka Temp, everyone's just going to hang around, but whoever gets out of Northwoods Black unscathed wins. I don't think that's true when I was actually looking back at it, because I just think that some players are going to struggle at Eureka Temp. It's not an easy course. There's OB on every single hole.
Ton of OB.
A lot of demanding shots, a lot of far shots with OB in consideration, island greens. It's a very tough course. It has its own teeth in its own way. And then Northwoods Black's kind of the exact opposite. It still has a lot of distance. You know, it has that par 7 in the woods. It's actually a par 5, but you know what I mean, hole 12. But it has those like tight wooded shots and stuff like that that challenges players in a completely different way from Eureka Temp. And I think what it is the courses are just deciders for different players. And so that's why I think Rick has great success in the past and a great chance of success here is he's just a player that his game works at both courses.
Yeah.
And his course knowledge. Again, there's no changes out here. So if you're someone who he's going to step onto every hole and have really good memories. Yeah. There might be a few holes he has some bad memories, but winning this event 3 years in a row, he's going to be on cloud 9 rolling in this week.
Yeah.
And this, again, is an event that typically Paul's one of the favorites at.
He's not
no
here.
Paul in the field.
Injured.
Shoulder injury. He also just announced on Instagram, this has nothing to do with why he's not at Ledgestone, but they did just announce that they're expecting here pretty soon. So that's exciting as well. But Paul's injured out of Ledgestone. So, you know, that's something where, not that it gives Rick another advantage, but it's another one of those tour
one
vets.
One less person to beat.
Because veterans on tour have advantages at specific areas. Like USDGC, even though it changes a lot, players that have been out there year,
yeah,
they have an advantage over someone who's just stepping up. Some of the courses are new on tour, but this is one of the events where a tour vet has a lot of just knowledge, experience out there over guys like Gannon, over guys like Alden Harris, or even Isaac Robinson, who, yeah, they've been out there, but they haven't been competing at the level they're competing at now on these courses for probably close to a decade almost.
I do feel like there are certain events at these courses that have been around longer where you're always wanting to favorite the veteran field that have been around a little bit. A lot of times because they've just won it in the past. But, you know, like USDGC, for example, I'm trying to think back, but, you know, I would say there's a couple anomalies, but you have a lot of people winning USDGC that are, you know, more experienced players. Obviously, Gannon just broke that mold last year, but he's an alien. And then I would say Conrad is maybe.
But he'd been out there for years.
But he had been out there, but he was maybe a little fresher. But then, like, there's a reason you have people like Sexton and Big Germ win that a little bit later in their career. And then you have the same guys winning it a lot, where like there are certain courses where just knowing it helps a lot. And I think this is a pair of courses where that is very helpful. Just like, I mean, I feel like, especially at Northwoods, just being in there before and kind of like getting in trouble at that course and realizing that like you're just not going to play flawless golf really at either of the courses, really. Like they are, you know, both, I think, throwers courses. You know, it's all about how far up each fairway can I make it. And I think that, you know, having experience certainly helps. And I think this is one of those events where, yeah, like immediately my mind is going to people with past success. It's not somebody. I'd be curious to look back and see this year just how many, you know, and we do have new winners this year, but I feel like in years past, you do typically, you know, see a lot of times the newer players get their wins at fresher events or newer courses. I mean, an example this year would be like Gannon winning the Open at Austin, right? Like a brand new course. I feel like there's always a better chance for those new winners and younger players to win at events where they're not dealing with guys who know these courses like the back of their hand.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, because I mean, it levels the playing field. You take out that inherent advantage, and it's just like, this is just how can you read a course and play that course. That's all that matters. Whereas Ricky coming in, he has a new sponsor on his back, but he knows the exact shot he needs.
He knows where to land.
Yeah, like, he knows what shot he has to throw to score out here, and knows where, more importantly, where to avoid. Yeah. And like, okay, well, if I mess up on this hole, I better make sure I mess up left. So I'm going to throw a backhand where it might look like a forehand hole.
Sure.
There's little things like that when it's a brand new course, players are all discovering that at the exact same time. Whereas a course like this, Ricky doesn't even have to have a notebook. He just knows it. He's played it so many times,
Yeah.
and really it hasn't changed that drastically.
Yeah,
Northwoods went from I think gold to black was like the change that added teeth, but that happened a few years ago.
Yeah, these courses have held their essence for a while, and I don't know how long they'll be this way. I mean, obviously, the two things to mention is Eureka is a temp course, right? Yeah, it's still temp.
There is a Eureka.
There's a permanent, but like this layout
this
is
the
temp,
temp
and there's some parts of the layout like the baseball field hole and things to where I don't know if it's got longevity on tour. I don't think so. And then Northwoods, while it is beloved, the issue in the past has been that they can't film the middle of the course. And what's interesting is as I was looking around this morning, you'll have to let me know in the comments, I couldn't find anything. And as a consumer, I think it should be as easy as I go to the broadcast schedule. They let me know that there's going to be no coverage for this part of the tournament. I feel
like last year what they did is they had like two different broadcasts for Northwoods, didn't they? They had they were broadcasting the open holes, and then they picked up lead card at like hole 9 or something.
All I'm saying is right now everything from what I found, just going to the Pro Tour, to UDIS, or wherever you would go, I couldn't find anything explaining if they were going to do something like that again. You would assume so, unless they've figured out how to broadcast from those areas, which would be great. But if not, I find that a little fishy because,
because last year
as a new consumer, you wouldn't know that. And then if Northwoods still cannot be filmed for the most of the course live, keep in mind, because they can't get the signal. And that is just going to be a trend that's continuing. Then I do not know why they keep going there. I think that is incredibly unwise. And I think that it is, you're basically, like I said, if you were going to sign up for the Disc Golf Network right now to watch that event and you're not given an indicator, you just got
bamboozled.
Basically,
well, because last year I'm trying to remember what they did. They were filming the shots and that was going on in the woods, and they would pull them into the broadcast later as highlights. So you got to see what was happening. I would imagine that's what they're going to do again. But last year it was very well advertised. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah,
this year I haven't seen it.
And hey, maybe that means if
I would love for them.
If the Pro Tour just broadcasts it clear as day somehow, but I haven't heard of any upgrades in their technology. We've seen their signal struggle at certain events this year.
Yeah,
it's been a while since we've had one that was iffy.
And Northwoods, I remember 2019 Worlds.
Maybe they got a new cell tower out there. I don't know.
Worlds,
pulling
we were
some strings
out there
in that area.
Yeah, we were out there, and they obviously couldn't go live, and no one was going live, and we didn't have. I don't think we had official media passes. No one told us we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we just went live on Instagram in 2019.
Yeah.
And when we got to hole 4-ish, there was no signal.
No signal.
It was just dead. It was done. By hole 5 or 6, it picked back up, and then by that point, the PDGA was live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just on their phone, and then Smashbox at the time picked it up when it got back out in the open.
Maybe we got a new cell tower.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I know that was something they were looking at. Yeah. They wanted to get some type of solution, so it would be incredible if they did.
It'd be one thing if
I'm going to assume they did because they haven't said they didn't.
Because this has been an issue for a while now, and I remember last year it was kind of just our live product has gotten serious enough now that that's just really.
Well, they have 40-some thousand people paying.
Yeah, so we really can't be all for the sake of one course. Find another course. I understand
just move the event.
Yeah, I understand that it's associated with this, but you have to every disc golf tournament. A lot of them at some point in their lifetime are going to have to make a difficult decision on is this a place where we can be held forever? USDGC. It's not going to be a Winthrop forever.
Can't
so. That's just how it's going to be. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens and, talk about it on Grid Blocked, I guess.
Yeah, no. But as of now, since there is no announcement, I'm assuming they're broadcasting all of Northwoods.
Unless I missed something, but like I said,
I haven't seen
I went to the Disc Golf Network website,
the
Pro Tour website. I saw their post. I'll double check again, but everything that they were saying was...
I haven't seen anything about it, and last year it was pretty well published. When they were doing something.
Let me see if the Pro Tour did it, because all I was seeing was the start time for the broadcast. But maybe I don't think they've posted that yet. On the Pro Tour, they haven't posted this.
So maybe by the time this comes out, it'll already went out, and you just listen to us ramble for no reason because you already know the answer.
Perhaps.
Let's jump over to FPO. So last year we saw Missy Gannon pretty much run away with this event, even with a Kristen Tatar in the field. So it wasn't a wounded field. Kristen was there.
Last year, Kristen Starr was different than this year.
Do you think Missy has what it takes to do it again?
No. I think I think Sunset's an interesting venue. I think Sunset opens a lot of possibilities. It's scoreable. It's not super complicated. So I do think that makes this tournament interesting for the FPO. I think Kristen is better this year than she was last year. That's fair to say. With her performance, I mean, it just speaks for itself. So I'm still now. I think because of Missy's track record, from last year, and she's been fine this year. Like, yeah, another top 5 or even top 3 is nothing crazy. But you're going to add Haley King back into the field. You're going to add Owen Scoggins back into the field.
Owen was there last year.
I'm talking about from like recent events. Just going off of Missy's success. So I just feel like it's going to be difficult. And I mean, beating Kristen just is impossible right now. So
I think a course like
9
Sunset.
for 14 now.
I think a course like Sunset, Northwoods Black. I think Kristen has a good advantage there. Kristen has a good advantage everywhere she walks in. But I do think a course like Sunset does. I'm not going to say set up for the field, but if
opens up a lot more.
If there was ever a course that someone had an advantage on Kristen, it would be a course like Sunset. I feel like just because I don't know what it is about it exactly. But there's just a lot
It's easier and more open. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, well, It's also, though, it does still have teeth. You see sometimes where Kristen makes mistakes, but she's not punished because where she makes a mistake is like leaving it short or just a little left or right. That will be punished a little bit more at Sunset Hills, but I'm not really making a case for anyone to beat her because I still am going to pick her to win. Yeah. But I think Missy Gannon has a solid shot out here. Another player, you just mentioned her, Owen Scoggins. She also beat Kristen out here last year. Yeah. She's coming off a win at a silver event and a win at Masters Worlds. What are you thinking of her coming into this event? Chance of beating Kristen or just maybe a podium?
Yeah, no, probably not beating Kristen. I mean, Owen Scoggins, there was a little bit of a hiatus on the tour this year for her. So, typically she's a staple in my predictions. For top 3s because that's just what she does. I've considered her kind of a Matteo type player where it's like, and there's a bunch of players like this these days where like they will hang around the top 10, top 5, top 3, but just not really win.
I do have to ask you this now. Mm-hmm. Now that you've learned Matteo has won a silver event.
Well, he won the Stafford Open in 2021, which was a very weak field. But I think I just misinterpreted my statement about Matteo, which is I guess that he can't win Elite Series. I know I came up with that statement long ago, so I'm sure I knew it then.
So are you going back to Owen Scoggins can't win?
I'm going to say that Owen Scoggins is not going to win an Elite Series event. But I don't know if I don't think I've completely put her in that place yet.
I think what you probably said was Matteo can't win a Pro Tour, and that just is a true statement.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going with your philosophy. I think Owen Scoggins could win. I think Owen Scoggins' best chance would be like U.S. Women's maybe if they go to a course that like if they like open it up like they have before where they make the course really short and super scoreable. Because like Owen Scoggins' weakness is obviously distance, right? Like that's just what it comes down to, and that to some extent in FPO on certain courses that can be fine, but it's to a point. And that's why you'll see Owen Scoggins at hard events that are longer courses still a lot of times able to, because of her low OB rates and good putting, because that's another thing. She'll gain a ton of strokes putting on people. She will get pretty high up there and nearly win sometimes. But it takes a little bit more. And Owen Scoggins, to her credit, is playing in the 40+ division.
Yeah.
So like she's just starting to age a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I mean, great player. Just I don't know. I would love to see Owen take down an Elite Series event, though. I think it'd be a lot of fun to watch. I think that'd be a great time.
That could be this weekend. Let's get into our bold prediction segment. Trevor thinks Owen Scoggins is going to win. That's his bold prediction. This is presented by Third Wave Coffee. Third Wave Coffee is committed to ethical and sustainable sourcing for all of their coffee, and they have 20 single origins coffee from all over the world in stock right now. Plus, new this year is the Bogey Bro Coffee Blend, tasted and approved by myself, Trevor, and Connor. And it's perfect for all of you looking to dip your toes into the specialty coffee scene, or if you're in the specialty coffee scene and you're looking for a nice blend to start your day, check out the Bogey Bro Blend. And for our listeners, they're offering 20% off your order with code DISCGOLF. That's one word, DISCGOLF. So head over to third-wave.coffee and pick up something today. And it's my brother's coffee shop, so put a little note in there. Let him know Hunter sent you.
Oh, heck yeah.
We're going to go into the bold prediction segment. I'm starting my bold prediction. I'll go first here.
Okay.
My bold prediction is I think they're going to improve the pace of play issues we've seen in the past. And so I think this year, Northwoods Black's going to take less than 8.5 hours to play.
Wow, that's
bold. My bold prediction. I think
Yeah.
that the players are going to get in and out of there kind of quick, probably about 7.5 hours.
Hole 12 is like the world record like backup hole. Like it's
Yeah.
just, it's shocking. Like 45-minute waits.
At Worlds, we got there, and there was like, I was following Paul's card filming, and we pulled up, and people were literally like playing hacky sack in a circle.
It's a joke.
There was like, I think there's 5 or 6 cards, but there was also, I think it was at they've redesigned Eureka Temp, but there was always a backup on one hole. I forget which hole it was. I think it was the hole after the bridge hole, whatever hole used to be after that. There was always a backup. And so you'd get up and there'd be like 3 or 4 cards. And so as soon as you got there, you could just walk across the street to like the Casey's General Store or whatever was there, grab some snacks and come back, and your card is still not going
Disc
yet.
golf, man. Sometimes disc golf frustrates the heck out of me. They just love to accept things. Like, there just needs to be a certain set of standards. This is the Pro Tour. If you have a 45-minute backup on a hole, or if you can't film the middle of the entire course, you're not there anymore. You're gone. You're doing another course. Like, I understand it's important to build history and prestige at courses, but if the course isn't good enough, and those two things immediately mean it's not good enough, I believe, because we should carry the Pro Tour to the highest standard we can within our sport, and that's not the highest standard. So I don't know. I just think that's so silly.
One of the things they made was like they made it harder to get into Ledgestone, so that you trim the fat a little bit.
My gosh, dude!
I know that's.
I just like if
in
I'm a
the past
professional
years,
disc golfer and I'm walking into a backup like that, I'm like, what
hole
the
12,
heck?
Hole 12 will have a backup. There's no because the
my
problem is it's an
gosh.
easy drive that gets progressively harder as the hole goes on, so you'll end up with a lot of cards on the hole, and it's after a short par 3.
Well, that's the big one right there. A lot of backups have not to do with not always to do with the. Actually, I would say most of the time it's not to do with the actual hole itself, but it's the hole before and after that caused the sandwiches. Anyways, my bold prediction, I think that the winner of both divisions is going to have the hot round at Northwoods twice.
Oh, so you think you go back-to-back hot?
At least tied or hot.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, well, let's get into our MPO predictions. I'll kick us off. I think Ricky's about to win this thing 4 times in a row. So I'm going Ricky Wysocki takes
special.
it down. I think Gannon Burr comes in second. And I think Calvin Heimberg finishes with a nice little 3rd place.
I had similar ideas. I crossed out some things. I took away Calvin. I'm just not feeling it right now.
All right, that's fair.
So I took Gannon to win, Rick in second. I feel like Gannon is a great player to I think he's a really good line hitter. I think he's going to be really good in Northwoods. I think he's also got a little chip on his shoulder after the little playoff mess up there. So, and I'm going to take AB in 3rd.
All right.
He was a highlight reel there last year. Just throws some insane shots. He's throwing the disc really well right now. Obviously, he took that really tough loss to the European Open. I think this is a good chance for him to bounce back.
Now, what about your FPO?
FPO, Kristen.
What?
Yeah, Kristen winning. Shocker. I've got Haley King in second, and I actually think Haley King could be dangerous at the event if she can hold on at Northwoods. I think she will shred Sunset, and then I've got Owen Scoggins in 3rd.
I'm taking Kristen, take it down. I'm riding with Missy Gannon second and Owen Scoggins in 3rd.
There you go. Yeah, Missy. I usually pick
like
Missy a lot on this, and I'm probably there's a good chance to get proved wrong. But you're leaving out Haley King.
I'm leaving out Haley King.
I like Haley King this year. I don't know.
If this was no build Fortnite, I'm taking her all day. But
that's true. How much effort is going into the gaming career
at
at
Sunset
this point?
Hills?
Gotta start asking these questions.
At Sunset Hills, I like
that sounds
Missy
like
more.
a Fortnite part of the map, though.
It does.
That might play into
that
her
will
advantage.
play into
yeah.
it. She's like dropping at Sunset.
Dropping at Sunset.
What's about your dark horse pick?
Dark horse, I'm going with Chris Clemens. He played well at this event last year. I like him. I like him in the woods. I like the lefty at these courses as well. So yeah,
I'm riding with the veterans out here. I think that this is a true knowledge wins type of this is a Ty Lopez type course.
Oh, okay.
So this guy, he doesn't, you know what he values more than the Lamborghini?
Bookshelves.
You know what he values more than the Bitcoin that Ricky got his signing bonus? Knowledge of the course.
Yeah.
Nico LaCastro.
Kind of looks similar too.
A little bit.
There's a resemblance. Nico, he played okay last week.
Yeah, I like Nico. I like Nico out here. I think he has a chance to perform pretty well, and I sure as heck think he's going to beat Chris Clemens. But tune in on the Disc Golf Network. Hopefully you get to watch all 4 rounds. You might only get to watch 2 3 rounds total because it might only be half rounds at Northwoods. But you'll find that out same way we do. Actually, it's probably been posted as we're talking right now, so you already
probably
know. But anyways, be sure to watch Ledgestone Insurance Open, not Insurance Open, Ledgestone Open. That's going to take a little bit to get out of my mind. You can watch it on Jomez Disc Golf Network, and we'll recap it all for you on Grip Locked on Monday. We'll see you then.